Hi, this is going to be the Bitachon podcast number 21, and it was actually a live share that I gave to the women's group of the Bitachon group, and unfortunately I did not film it, so from here on in, it's going to be just a static picture. I called my Rosh Yeshiva about an hour ago, 45 minutes ago, to ask him, any thoughts to share with the group. I told him I was going to be leading this group. And I'll tell you exactly what he said. I'll also try to share a few other thoughts that I've heard from him, and maybe a few of my own. Specifically, he said, it's an amazing thing that's going on here with the corona. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is clearly saying that he is there. And with all of our, all of that which we've built with the money and the desire for so many things, the skyscrapers in Manhattan, with all of that which we've built, Hashem can swoop in any moment and shut it all down. People are losing millions and billions and trillions of dollars. And Hashem is saying, I'm here. And it's a story I've heard from him many times. He told a story about this man who had just lost his daughter, his teenage daughter. I believe she was maybe late teens, and she had died in a car accident. But the thing was that all of her friends were in the car. The car rolled over. All the other kids in the car came out without a scratch. She was in the safest seat in the car, in the back seat, in the middle, cushioned by her two friends. And this girl passed away. And the guy said, the father of this girl said, Hashem took my daughter. Clearly took my daughter, and so my Rosh Yeshiva asked him, "Does that comfort you? Is that comforting to know that?" And he said, "No, it's not comforting." He was not comforted by that. He was angry at Hashem. But my Rosh Yeshiva was trying to bring out from that Hashem is clearly doing this. It's very open, clear, and obvious, and it should give us chizuk. It should strengthen us to know the fact that we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one who's doing it, and we are all affected by it. And I mean, in my thinking, it's like a very interesting and funny situation, because the fear, everyone's afraid of getting corona. I mean, the fear is founded for people really over 60, 70. That's where the problems really are, and people with specific background issues. So the fear, for our kids at least, but for us even, is not so much founded. It's more of a fear for my parents and a fear for my Rosh Yeshiva. I called him to ask him how he's doing. Baruch Hashem, he's doing well. But the fear for us is definitely more directly. I've had many. I shouldn't say many. I had a major job I'm supposed to have over Pesach, which would have covered all my Pesach expenses, which was canceled, and now I have a shaila if I have to return the deposit. And so it's more of a financial issue, I think, directly right now for this moment for most people, and also the nisayon of having all of our kids around is certainly no easy challenge, but the bottom line of it is, and what I understood from Rosh Yeshiva is that we are facing off with a personal nisayon. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing this personally, and so we need to each ask ourselves, what is Hashem trying to say to me? This is a personal, clear HaKadosh Baruch Hu coming in b'hashgacha berura, very clear to show us that he's, first of all, he's involved in our lives, but specifically that he wants us to wake up. He wants us to wake up. And my Rosh Yeshiva's suggestion was to focus, to try to work on brachas with kavana. That's what he said. Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, hamoitzi lechem min haaretz. When we say the brachas, to think about the words that we're saying, because if it's about HaKadosh Baruch Hu's specific hashgacha, and it's specifically shaking us up and asking us to connect to him, so then the brachas are certainly an opportunity to do that consistently. So that's what my Rosh Yeshiva said. And now a few thoughts a few other thoughts. One of the things I heard from my Rosh Yeshiva in the shiur, is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he was talking. I'm listening to shiurim that I heard 20 years ago about Bitachon when I was sitting in the room, and I remember so much of it because it was very profound. It was very profound. He would say things like, "One day you'll have this thought, and you'll think that you thought of it on your own, but you're just going to be remembering something that I'm telling you now." And then he go on to say whatever profound thought. But one of the profound thoughts that he said is that, when you're a bacher and you're listening to a shiur about Bitachon, so you may or may not have to work on that. It's like, I talk a lot in my house about Bitachon, and my son, Moshe Dov, who's turning 17, he's like, yeah, how do I work on this? Because he's also interested in Musar and in Bitachon, and okay, he has his entrance exams into Yeshiva Gedola coming up, so he has an opportunity to work on it. And thinking about Corona, we have an opportunity to work on it. But for the most part, until this thing has, come up for us, it's been pretty much for a bacher at least, not that much to work on. There's somebody who's unmuted. If you don't mind to just mute yourself, thanks. But the thing that he says is that when we work on Bitachon, the Bitachon in a time in a regular time, so once we've gotten used to mulling it and chewing it and working on it in regular times, so the opportunity comes along, which is more of a challenging time, and then we already have the tool. We have the tool in our pocket to be able to use it. And the story he tells is how his Rebbitzin Shani Perr asked her father, Rabbi Yehuda Nekritz, who was a major Nevardiker, who was Rosh Yeshiva Beis Yosef, which was Nevardik in Brooklyn. And, it's Yadua, it's well known in Adar, so they would work on the Midah of Lo Kam V'Lo Zah. Mordechai didn't get up, but he didn't shake when Haman passed by. So they would work on this Midah, and they would walk into a store that sold nails, or they would walk into a bakery and they would ask for nails, or they would do the opposite, whatever. They would do something unusual and difficult, and the reason that they did it was in order to be machazik themselves and being able to go against the tide. And so she asked her father, what was the purpose of that? Okay, so you did that then, but what was the point of it? And he said, once you have it in your back pocket, you can pull it out whenever you need it. It was to be able to inculcate into oneself the ability to have that midah, to have the ability to stand against the tide, and I can pull that out whenever I need it. And we've worked on Bitachon here, and this is an amazing thing. I really feel this, and maybe you guys feel it too. But I started pretty much at the same. I've been listening to the shiurim for many, many years, but focused every day working on Bitachon. I started about a little bit more than a year ago. When I started that the Bitachon podcast, and I feel like HaKadosh Baruch Hu set us up. I think that he set us up with the tool to be able to pull out of our back pocket when the challenges arise. And I don't make any claim that everything's just going to flow and be perfect and easy, and money's just going to show up the way it always has. I don't know if that's going to be the case for me. It happens to be that a few different interesting things have been going on. We have a in our house we have a dirat nofesh, a vacation apartment that people come and they use whatever for a few days, and there were two people that were supposed to come in from the States, one for a week, another one for another week over Pesach, I think. It was a lot of money. And they canceled at the last second. No deposit, no nothing. There's no whatever. We understand, but that's not so cool. Now, today, literally an hour ago, we got a phone call. There's a couple who's, they push up the wedding, and because everyone's moving up the weddings now, instead of doing them in 2 weeks from now, they want to do it now, because at least they could, have 10 people at their wedding, and they wanted to know if they could rent our apartment. Because the apartment that they were supposed to have is not going to be available until 2 weeks from now. So So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is taking it away on one end, but he's giving it on another end, and I think that if we look for that, we're going to see that. Especially if we're working on the Bitachon, I think that we're going to see that. To the extent that we have that sense of strong Bitachon, to the extent that we've all, I can speak for myself. I've gone, we go in and out of Bitachon. Sometimes we have it, and sometimes we don't. Rosh Yeshiva speaks about that at length. Sometimes we feel it, and sometimes we don't. And we have a rifyon, we have a weakening in our Bitachon. But it's been my experience that when push comes to shove and we have a difficult situation, the bitachon, it's an opportunity to strengthen the bitachon, and the bitachon comes in even stronger. And one of the things, so we have already talking about brachas with kavana. Another thing that I want to suggest, this past Sunday when we had the men's meeting of the bitachon group, so we read this paragraph on page 86. I'm going to read it. The Gemara in Tainus tells of a Roman officer who threatened two righteous brothers. They remained undisturbed by their impending doom and told him that if they were indeed deserving of death, God has many bears and lions in this world that can kill us if he wills it. God also has many viruses and bacteria at his disposal if he wishes to kill a person. He has many channels available to him, whether for life or death. Therefore, a person can have bitachon for something, even if the steps leading to his salvation need to have been set in motion already. The potential refuah is already there. It's just waiting for you to seize the bitachon in front of you. So there's a few things I want to bring out of the paragraph. First of all, it's like that's the paragraph that we read when we're all thinking about corona. This thing about Hashem has many viruses and bacteria at his disposal. The point is not that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is out there to get us. The point is that he's in charge. And he's in charge, and he wants us to connect to him and recognize that. And the other point there is that everything is just waiting. Everything is just waiting for us, number one, to recognize. HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent the men's Bitachon group that paragraph this past week. You guys, I heard, were sent the section about the Esther Amalka and the Megillah right before Purim. So it's like noticing HaKadosh Baruch Hu is constantly doing this for us. He is constantly sending us little messages that he's there, that he's taking care of us. And sometimes the messages are, I'm here, and I love you, and I'm giving you this patch out of my love for you. That might be the message too. I don't know. I'll tell you, I did Amossi Shabbos. We had scheduled a concert to fundraise for a particular organization here in Israel. And I was expecting 200 people to show up, and in the end there was 25 people, and people canceled the last second. Baruch Hashem, a lot of them gave the money to the organization anyway. But one of the things that I said to the group that was there, which was actually an older group, most of them I think in their 60s and 70s, one of the things I said to the group, I sang Tov L'Haydis Hashem, and I asked them to sing along and to think, as they're saying the words, Tov L'Haydis Hashem, I said, think of one thing, when you say thank you, Tov L'Haydis Hashem, say thank you for one amazing thing in your life. And at the same time, I also want you to say thank you, Hashem, for one terrible thing in your life. I want you to dafka say thank you for something which you hate in your life. That's what I said. And I said, don't worry, you don't have to share it afterwards. You can think it. It's all in your, in your hearts. But a woman came over to me afterwards, and she was very emotional, and she said to me that she had been in a major bus accident. I don't know if she got hit by a bus. I don't know exactly what the story was. She indicated that it was something that had been in the news in Yerushalayim, and it had been 4 years ago, and it's I'm paraphrasing what she said, but she was able that night. She was able to say thank you, Hashem, that she's alive. It sounded like until that moment, and she got emotional. She was able to cry about the situation for the first time since the accident had happened. So there's something. So point number one, brachas v'kavana. Point number two, recognizing Hashem is the one doing everything and noticing that Hashem, number one, is doing things for our good, and also noticing and thanking Hashem for stuff that's challenging. Thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we're all in this boat together also. That's an important thing to see and to know. We're all working on Bitachon together, and we're all this is a worldwide challenge. That's an amazing thing. Someone said to me today, my brother-in-law, Gavi Wiener, he said to me, never in history, perhaps, has there been a moment where everyone's minds are focused on one thing. Everyone is thinking about one thing, Corona. Everyone. There's like a sense of unity throughout the world. He said, even the terrorists of ISIS are telling their people, don't go to Europe because it's dangerous there because of Corona. Even the terrorists are worried about Corona. So everyone, and he was saying it's a hachana for the moment when Malaretz Deas Hashem, when everyone's going to be focused on serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But you see that such a thing is possible, that everyone can be focused. So maybe call that point number 3. We're all in this together, and we all have an opportunity to work on this together, to work on the Bitachon together. And perhaps the last point is that this is kind of a little bit was wrapped up in what my Rosh Yeshiva said, but during the elections here, Netanyahu said one of the things that he said, in why we should vote for him, was he's the one who protected Am Yisrael. I'm the one who protected Am Yisrael. That's what he said. And I heard on the radio today like a similar kind of sentiment. It was somebody talking from Bituach Leumi, which is the public medicine here, and he was saying, "Don't worry, everything is under control. There's going to be money for you, for your children, for your grandchildren. Everything's fine. Everything's going to be fine." First of all, I can't believe someone should have such a chutzpah to say such a thing. But there's a kaichi v'yatzim yadi. There's a tremendous kaichi v'yatzim yadi. I'm the one who saved Am Yisrael, says our Baal Gaiva of a prime minister. And Bituach Leumi says, we're the ones who are going to give money to you, your children, your grandchildren, and we'll save you in your old age. We'll still have the money. And part of what I've been working on here in this Bitachon group and my personal journey, I don't remember if I've mentioned, I don't remember how much I've said, I don't remember who I've said a lot to a lot of different people, but this journey started for me, the intensity of this journey started for me because I put out an album, which probably was the album that was heard the most of any album that I've ever done. And but the album lost a lot of money. I spent a lot of money on it, and I shouldn't say I lost the money. I mean, Mitzvah Hashem will be paid off, but L'maisa, I'm still sitting with a very big debt and paying it off very slowly. And I had done everything that I could. I had put in every normal hishtadlus, maybe too much hishtadlus. And I came out of it like really burned. And it was like, and I kept seeing all around me, like in all of our from media, like too much focus on how I can succeed. And what did this person do to succeed? And this business, how did they succeed? What hishtadlus did they do? We have to put in our maximum hishtadlus. That's what I've heard over and over again. And it's like, that's not really true. That is not really what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from me. That is not what the Chavis HaLevavis says, even though he does say we need to do hishtadlus. He says hishtadlus is just a nisayon for us. So we don't confuse things. We're not supposed to get confused and think that our hishtadlus is what's doing it. So I personally had that, and I feel like Bichlal, for sure in the world around us, in the secular world, but even within our own frum world, there's this issue going on. And Kadosh Baruch Hu is saying, hey, it's not you. Don't think for a moment that it's you. And I can show you how easily and how quickly all of the dominoes can fall. And it's not, I don't see it as a punishment. I see it as a wake up. And I'm excited personally that I've had an opportunity to work on this, and I feel like I'm coming in with the tools. L'maisa, I work with Hishtadlus. I work with Bitachon with Hishtadlus, and there's a certain amount of Hishtadlus that I do personally, and it seems Kadosh Baruch Hu sends a lot through my Hishtadlus. And looking at the great abyss, who knows what will be? It could be everything will be fine in 2 months. It could be this is just a shake-up. But it could also be not. Who knows? Who knows what's going to be? We don't know what's going to be. But certainly to continue to work on this bitachon and recognize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to connect to Him. There's a pasuk, it says, I can't quote the pasuk exactly, but the pasuk, it says by Mashiach, when Mashiach comes, that the sun and the moon and the stars will all be extinguished. And lo yeh oid hashemesh leor olam, the sun will no longer be that which provides light to the world. Ki Hashem yeh lach leor olam, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to be the one. The light will come directly from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the idea is that all the things that seem to give us life, the sun, the moon, the stars, the malachim, the messengers, the boss, the husbands, the this, the that, the wife's business, all of these things, ultimately, they vanish. They vanish. I don't know if we're holding by Mashiach. I'd like to think we are. I don't know if we are, but certainly what's supposed to happen when Mashiach comes is that all of the idolatry, all of the avodah zaras, all of the gold and the silver idols that we all have, they fall away. And bitachon is really about connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu directly. And this is a great opportunity. So I invite you all to take the opportunity. And that's what I have to say.